Hey, it's Denise, and as the gloves should probably tell you, and of course the fabulous flamingo apron, getting ready to do some cooking, and the gloves mean there will be raw meat involved because it's not like it's a safety thing. It's I'm pressure canning. My hands were washed, and your washed hands are fine. I just don't like the feel of raw meat, so I don't like anything about handling it. I am hoping that this won't be horribly long, although I have a feeling it might be. My goal is to get my 7 quart jars filled up using some of the tomato sauce that I got on sale yesterday. That I'm starting out with some of the roasted garlic. When I went to put some in my jars, I realized it was a really thick sauce. So I did water it down a little bit because I want there to be some room for movement and bubbling, and there to actually be liquid and it to be like a sauce and not like it's almost more like somewhere halfway between a sauce and a paste. It was really thick. So there's that. So I put a little bit in each of my jars. I'm now going to be taking this thin sliced steak, beef, whatever. So not a meat person. Anyway, it is the Brajol thin sliced that I got the buy one get one free deal on, which is the only reason I have it. As I have mentioned before, like I would not pay $6.79 a pound for meat. To me, that's just really expensive and not really in my budget. But it was buy one get one free, so that basically cuts the price in half, as long as you make sure you get that your free package is basically the same size as the package you're paying for. So I'm going to start with this. My plan. I'm going to tell you my plan. Not that that means that's going to happen. You sure know that. I went to bed last night. If you saw last night's video, I went to bed last night sick as a dog at like 6 p.m., which is pretty pathetic. But through the miracle of many cold medicines and things to help me get back to sleep. Oh, and if going to bed at 6 and kind of tossing and turning didn't suck badly enough, I then, at midnight, my son and I were both wide awake and downstairs because something had startled the dog awake. Okay, that package, I was about to say don't be grossed out. If you like cooking, then you're not going to be grossed out. That one package has these 2 steaks in it. So what I'm going to be doing, being that the goal here is to end up with like those pinwheels, I'm going to slice this in each one in half, I think. Maybe. I think I'm going to cut each one in half. Or I could make them and then cut them once they're rolled up. I'm doing like I'm pretending I have it already filled. Once, I'm not like stuffing it like you would if you're baking it because I'm canning it, but I'm gonna, okay, so imagine it's rolled up. Maybe I'll roll them up and then cut them in half this way. That might be better. I want to have a piece of one of these in each jar, and then I want to have some of the cut up pork chops in each jar, so that when you open this potentially, hopefully wonderful smelling tomato sauce, it will have both some of the brajol and some of the pork. That's the plan. Aiming for 7 quarts. And yeah, I'm thinking if the other package only has 2 also, which it probably does, I'm only going to end up with 2. But yeah, well, if I get 4 per package by cutting them in half, then I would have 8. So that gives me an extra one. So at least there'll be 1 in each jar, and then the rest would be the chunks of pork. So that's kind of what I'm going to aim for. What I'm going to put on it, roll up in it, is basically just parsley flakes and Romano cheese. Now, I only have a little bit of the good Romano cheese, as my friend Linda would refer to it, the real Locatelli Pecorino Romano, which is what I use. I did in the cabinet for emergencies. Yes, I have a bottle of the cheap stuff, the Parmesan Romano blend that a lot of us use. Since being taught better, I tend to buy the good stuff. But yeah, I don't have enough of it, I don't think, to put anywhere near enough to really give the flavor that I want it to give. So I'm probably going to end up having to use some of the cheap stuff. I know Linda would cringe if she saw that, but she's an amazing cook as far as Italian food. I told you, right? I did that Ancestry DNA thing. I knew I was mostly Irish. I'm 96% Irish from a DNA perspective, according to Ancestry. So, yeah, there's no Italian in these genes, and not even like by, you know, no, there just isn't. And I've only watched people cook this a couple times. I've never actually made this before. So there's my plan. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. There will probably be multiple glove changes and perhaps icky faces as I have to touch the stuff. Right now, my hands are in the thick of it, so to speak. So let's get on with it. I'm going to just put my parsley flakes and my cheese, and we're going to hope that gives it that nice flavor that you want it to add to the sauce. Now, the sauce that I'm using, I told you, was the ones I got on sale. It's a brand I've never used before, probably because it's ridiculously expensive, and that's my opinion. Other people might be like, oh, what a bargain, you got whatever sauce for the regular price. Now, the shelf, I'm gonna say it, was misleading. It was clear that if you bought one, you got two for free, which is what made me buy it. But the shelf, how the unit price stickers are on the shelf, said that it was $2 and something per quart. Now, these jars are just a little under a quart. They're like a cup under a quart. They're 24-ounce jars, and a quart would be 32 ounces. So I'm thinking these jars are $2 and something each. Well, it turned out they were $5.99 each. You still got the two free ones, but instead of then averaging out to about $1 a jar, they averaged out to $2 a jar. So is it a terrible price? No, but is it the sale price that I thought I was buying? No. Okay, I've distracted myself a little bit whilst also totally contaminated the cheese. So I'm definitely finishing the good stuff, so to speak, will definitely be finished in this recipe because I'm double dipping here. I'm using my fingers, and all right, I'm trying to just press it on there so it kind of sticks to the meat. Just show you, that's what I'm using. That's the cheese. Now, as far as what else do I have ready, I have my canner. I have, I'm doing this cold, obviously, so I do not have my canner hot. You don't want to shock your jars. I'm rolling this up like I know what I'm doing, which we know I don't. If you're to do it the way I've seen people who know what they're doing do it, this would then be tied with some sort of twine or held together with like skewers when they cook it in their crock pot or on the stove in their sauce pot. Being that I'm putting it in the jars, I don't know how they would react to it, how twine would hold up, or if it could cause any kind of problem. I certainly wouldn't want it disintegrating and then you couldn't get it out and you're eating pieces of twine. So here it is rolled up. I do wish I had some spinach. I mean, I know it would disintegrate into the sauce, but I would still like it. just for the flavor that it adds. So I'm going to slice this into 2. One wanted to unroll. We're making it roll back up. And I'm going to... So now there are 2. And they're good size. I'm going to put one of these into each jar. Now, the only challenge might be, I had, of my 7 jars, I had 6 of my preferred, the ball wide mouth jars. And then I had 1 left over from another canning project that's a regular mouth jar. If that won't work for this, I'll go open, I hope I have another, I'm trying to think if any of my other jars are wide mouth quarts. I have a ton of quart jars, but I don't know that they're wide mouth. But the wide mouth jars, I know this will go in without a problem. I am dropping it in there. Did you hear that? Did you hear that splashing noise? Yeah. Sound effects, totally for your benefit. It wasn't me splashing tomato sauce all over my counter or anything. I did that getting set up also, actually. And it was kind of funny because while normally I would not see humor in having to clean up tomato sauce that I'd splashed all over, in this particular case, it was me trying to get the sauce to start dumping out. And as I mentioned, it was really thick sauce. Put the parsley flakes onto the second piece of steak. Put in the cheese. Anyway, so I upended the jar to pour some into the bottom of my jars, and nothing happened. I was like, this can't be. It's not pouring out. So what do? I give it a good tap on the bottom, and the sauce shoots out and splashes out. The only reason that I'm able to have as much of a sense of humor about it is because it all landed right in one clean frying pan. So basically I just had to take one frying pan over to the sink and give it a quick little rinse to get I'm like pressing the cheese down to make sure it sticks while I do the rolling part. Did I get all the way to the end? Because this one's hanging over the edge of the plate a little bit. And as we know, I'm no expert. It's my first time making this. I like eating it, although I haven't had it in so long. Okay, I'm gonna roll this one up. Yeah, this end's a little narrower, so I think I'm gonna start with the narrower end. Probably anyone, if you've done this or even done like jelly rolls, you would know. Should I be starting at the wider end or the narrower end? But I don't know. I bake cakes and stuff. I've never done a jelly roll type thing or, cinnamon rolls that, you actually roll up. Okay, it is rolled and it is about to get cut in half. Roughly in half. I'm not like getting out a ruler here. So we have the next 2 rolled up and ready to be, this time, hopefully not quite plunked into the jar. Maybe I can do it with a little more finesse. You can tell the ones that have it, they're definitely a higher sauce level. And put in this back one. So you, and you do not have meat yet. Yes, I'm talking to my jars. I do that sometimes. Just warn you. Okay, I think we've already covered she's not quite normal. So probably not a surprise to anybody. Opening the second pack. Gonna change gloves just because I feel like I've touched a lot of stuff now at this point, and so I feel like I should change gloves. Again, is it totally necessary? This stuff's gonna be pressure canned, and that's gonna kill everything. Even if I wasn't wearing and or changing gloves. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't start out with your stuff clean and all, but these are quartz they're going to be processing for. Oh, this one it's cut in 3 pieces. 1, 2. I grimaced a little, didn't I? I try not to make the yucky face, which I am feeling inside because, you know, I don't like really touching this stuff. This kind of skinnier one, I'm not going to cut in half. I'm just going to, this one's going to get its own jar. So doesn't this just kind of throw off my math? Yes, it does. So that was the parsley. Now we put the cheese. I know this is repetitive. If I knew how to pause and, pause and restart, or if my editing was where it should be, I would so not be making you watch this whole thing. Because, frankly, I know it's repetitive. But otherwise, I'd be like, oh, watch the first 5-minute video of me doing brujol, and then it stops. And then it would be a whole separate video of the next 5-minute installment that I thought might contain something that would be of interest. Because I have not quite gotten that sticking them together editing bit to turn your different segments into one video. I know anyone young and or experienced at doing this is just laughing and or shaking their head at this point. But I haven't had a chance to go bug my friend who has edited video professionally. Yes, if you see this, Sal, I'm trying to guilt you into sharing those mad skills that you have to teach me how to do this better. This one just looks like a mess. Maybe it's because of it was slightly weirdly shaped. Maybe I didn't roll it tight enough. I think I rolled it as tight as the other ones. I think it's because it was weirdly shaped. I'm going to blame it on the weird shape and shove it in a jar. Although it's big. I'm not going to shove it into the narrow jar. Yeah, that flunking noise there. Okay. So, yeah, this is gross, no matter how I try not to think it's gross. Parsley. I guess I feel like the ones that get the bigger piece of this will just get less of the pork. And no biggie, right? That should not be the end of the world, whether there's slightly more beef versus slightly more pork in a given jar. Squashing the cheese onto this one. I just want it to come out with the flavor being right and the sauce not being so thick that it comes out too dry. Oh, in case you're wondering, and can tell at all in this light, I am wearing the other color of the City Beauty Lip Plumper, lipstick, lip treatment, whatever. City Lips, they call it. This one is Sangria. And you're thinking, you're not even leaving the house, you're cooking, and you don't put on makeup most of the time. Why? Why, Denise? You know I wasn't feeling good. You can probably see that I'm still kind of pale looking. I didn't want to scare away anyone, and believe me, my eyes still look totally washed out. I figured a little color with the lipstick might make me look better than I feel. Okie dokie then. Let's roll this one up. I might be getting the hang of this whole rolling things up. I think part of it is definitely making sure that you've pressed the cheese and parsley in. Now this one is big and I feel like it has to be cut in half. Now that could mean putting 2 of them in one jar. I'm okay with that. I don't think there's any problem with there being 2 of them in one jar. see, this is the jar that I'm afraid nothing will come out of because it's not wide mouth. I might just put pork in that one. I know that's being a little bit of a chicken. I didn't mean to make like a meat joke there, pork versus chicken, which I just kind of did. Maybe I'll cut it into smaller pieces so that I feel like if it does just unravel, that I'll still be able to get it out of the jar. All right, so this one I'm cutting that half in half again, so that it's going to be like two littler pieces, which I think stand a better chance of coming out of the jar if that becomes an issue. So everyone, by which I mean every jar, has at least one piece in it now. So this last one, I'll just finish this up. I'm not going to make you watch me cut pieces of pork chop into cubes, because what is even the least bit interesting about that? I figured at least the whole cheese and rolling and stuff is, you know, not a recipe that you necessarily cook every day. Certainly not something I would cook every day. Like I said, it's something I personally have never cooked before. So, and there's the rest of the good cheese. I did not have to use any of the cheap cheese. Just really gonna, again, press that down to try to encourage it to stay on there while I slice this, roll this, and then slice it up. It's another slightly weirdly shaped one, so I don't know how that will bode for the cutting in half part, but we'll see, won't we? Okay, I cut it in half. We have, oops, 2 halves. Let me put these in whatever jars look like they can use it. Not pushing my luck and trying to put more into that jar that has the narrower mouth. Definitely going to go with more of the pork in there. And this one can go in here. Now, the next time I will see you will be when this is done, and I will let you know how it came out. Only other thing I'm going to try to get done today is, if I'm feeling up to it, later in the day, I'm going to try to get my carrots peeled and canned. That's pretty straightforward, not terribly interesting or visually dynamic. So thank you for watching, and I will let you know how this goes. I'll let you know how they come out when I'm done processing them for 90 minutes. And let me know if you found this helpful, interesting. If you hated it, you don't have to tell me that. I can assume that from a lack of comment, that you did not find it particularly interesting. But thank you for watching, and I'm going to get on with getting this going and getting my canner going. And hopefully once it vents for 10 minutes and gets up to pressure, then I start my 90-minute processing, and then it cools down. You see where I'm going with this. It takes a really long time. Anyway, by the time I take it out, hopefully I'll have something nice to show you. Thanks for watching.